Have you ever scheduled a date, a trip, or even a simple dinner with friends, and suddenly, without warning, the person cancels? It's not an emergency, it's not a serious unforeseen event, it's just sorry, I can't handle it today. And the worst part, this happens again and again. Always. As you stand there, with the food ready, the ticket purchased or the anticipation in the air, she doesn't seem to care. But is it just bad manners? Or is there something much deeper going on behind this habit? Before judging, it's worth saying, canceling plans doesn't make anyone a monster. Sometimes, life takes a toll in a way that we can't explain. There are people who really need that alone time to recharge, and others who simply can't handle the pressure of keeping commitments. But when this becomes a standard, a kind of person's specialty, things change. Because then, it's no longer about a bad day, it's about a protection mechanism that gradually installed itself, like invisible armor. Just imagine, how many times has this person promised something and failed to deliver? Not just for others, but for herself. Maybe you grew up hearing that words are debts, and now, as an adult, you carry the weight of not wanting to disappoint anyone, not even yourself. So, canceling becomes a way out. A way to avoid anticipated guilt, the fear of not measuring up, or even the feeling that, deep down, you don't deserve that good moment. If I don't go, I won't ruin anything, thinks the brain, as if her presence were a threat to its own balance. And there's more, canceling can be a form of control. In a world where everything seems unpredictable, relationships, work, even your own mental health, postponing or canceling gives an illusion of power. I decide when and how I show up. It's as if, when you say no to others, you are saying yes to an internal need for security. The problem is that, over time, this strategy becomes a vicious circle. The more people cancel, the more difficult it becomes to leave the house, and the more social life boils down to I'll try and I'll leave it until next time. But not everything is despair. There are people who cancel because they value moments too much and prefer to only do it when they are 100%. They are those people who, when they finally appear, are truly present, without distractions, without middle ground. For them, a yes has to be as sincere as a no. The problem is that, along the way, others get tired of waiting. And then, what was a search for authenticity turned into loneliness. If you recognized yourself in this text, no, you are not irresponsible or selfish. Maybe I just learned that, in a world that demands so much, protecting your own energy is an act of survival. But it's also good to remember that, sometimes, the greatest gift we can give to others and to ourselves is simply to show up. Even if it's just for an hour. Even if it's scared. And if you live with someone like this, try to understand, it's not about you. It's about an internal battle that you don't see. One day, who knows, she'll be able to say yes without feeling like she's betraying herself. Until then, patience. And if the plan is really important, mark it twice, once in your diary, once in your heart. Did you like this reflection? Comment here. Do you also have a habit of cancelling plans, or do you know someone like that? Share with anyone who needs to read this. And if you want more texts that make you think, subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss anything. Until next time, and this time we don't cancel, agreed? Winking face. Continuation of the text, expansion with engagement techniques. But what happens when no becomes a wall? Have you ever stopped to think that sometimes the fear of saying yes is actually the fear of not knowing how to say no later? It's as if we fear that, when we open a door, we won't be able to close it again, and then the insulation becomes a shield. It's no surprise that many people who cancel plans are also the ones who feel the most loneliness. They know that, deep down, it is not the busy schedule that exhausts, but the anguish of not being able to truly be present. And there's more, this pattern is not random. Research in psychology shows that those who avoid social commitments often carry a wound of abandonment, not necessarily a serious trauma, but small accumulated micro-disappointments, the friend who disappeared when you needed it most, the party at which you felt invisible, the unfulfilled promise. The brain registers, if I don't create expectations, I won't get hurt. But, without realizing it, we exchange the pain of disappointment for the pain of absence. The paradox. Those who need connection most are those who run away from it most. It's like being thirsty and avoiding drinking water for fear of choking. What if the problem isn't you, but the world? Here's an uncomfortable truth. Society rewards those who say yes and punishes those who dare to prioritize themselves. Those who cancel plans are labeled boring, selfish, or antisocial, while those who overwork themselves are applauded as dedicated or generous. But who defined that productivity is synonymous with value? What if, in fact, the act of canceling is a revolutionary gesture, a message to a world that demands too much and gives too little? Think about it. When you say no, you are claiming the right to exist without justification. It's as if saying, my energy is not infinite, and that doesn't make me worse than anyone else. The problem is not that you are selective, it's the world having normalized exhaustion as a bargaining chip for affection. But be careful, there is a difference between self-preservation and self-sabotage. It's one thing to cancel because you need to recharge, it's another to cancel out of fear of being seen, judged, or worse, loved. Because, yes, love scares. It requires vulnerability, and many people prefer predictable solitude to the risk of a failed connection. What to do when yes hurts, but so does no? If you've identified yourself so far, here are 3 questions to reflect on, and none of them are why are you like that? Because we already know that the answer is complex. 1. What am I really afraid will happen if I say yes? Is it fear of disappointing others? Or disappoint yourself by not living up to expectations? Tip: write down the first thing that comes to mind. That's usually where the root is. 2. What would it be like if I allowed myself to show up even for a little while? It's not about becoming the most sociable person in the group. It's about taking a step so small that it's impossible to fail. A 20-minute coffee. 1 yes per month. Progress, not perfection. 3. What do I gain by canceling? And what do I lose? Sometimes the relief of not going is momentary, but the cost is a life lived between the lines. Do you really want your story to be told in the almost and would have been stories? A practical exercise. Next time you feel like canceling, do this. Say, I'm going, but only for an hour. Put a clear limit. Arrange an exit code with a trusted friend, e.g. if I send you peach, come and get me. Allow yourself to go out whenever you want, without guilt. Your presence is enough. For those who love someone who always cancels. If you're on the other side, trying to understand why your crush keeps disappearing, here's what they wish you knew, but probably can't tell you. It's not about you. She's not avoiding you. You are avoiding the feeling of not being able to handle it. Sometimes, I need a repeat invitation. It's not stubbornness, it's fear of being forgotten. So, what's up? It makes more of a difference than you might think. My no today doesn't mean never. Give yourself space, but don't give up. Patience is the only medicine for those who are afraid to trust. I admire you for not giving up on me, even if she doesn't know how to show it. A suggestion. Instead of asking why do you always cancel, which sounds like an accusation, try, I miss you. Is there anything I can do to make it easier for us to see each other? The difference. The first question on my lap becomes defensive, the second opens a door. What if we rethought the meaning of appearing? Maybe the problem isn't canceling plans, but the way we define being present. In a culture that glorifies always available, showing up can be. Send a 3-minute audio saying I thought of you instead of going on the date. Watch a film together, each in your own home, but with synchronized reactions. Write a letter, yes, made of paper, saying something that you wouldn't say looking into your eyes. Presence is not just physical. Sometimes it's letting someone know you exist even from afar. An invitation, no pressure. If you've come this far, it's because some part of this reflection touched something in you. So here's a challenge, pick one. 1. For those who cancel. Next week, say yes to one small thing, a coffee, a phone call. Then write down how you felt. No judgment. Share in the comments, I did it or it didn't work, but I tried. We celebrate both. 2. For those who live with those who cancel. Send a message to that person, no pressure, but whenever you want, I'm here. Even so we can be silent together. And it does. 3. For everyone. Think about a relationship that you have put aside out of fear, shame, tiredness. Send a message today, even if it's just an emoji. Breaking the ice is always easier than we imagine. Because in the end, we only regret the almost. Have you ever heard that story about the 90-year-old man who, on his deathbed, doesn't regret the things he did, but the ones he didn't do out of fear? So it is. Life is not made up of the days in which we appeared flawless, but of those in which we appeared even trembling, even afraid, even if just for a moment. So how about today be the day you say yes to something that scares you, but makes your heart race in a good way? Say no to something that exhausts you, without needing to justify yourself. Show up even if it's just for yourself. Because you deserve to take up space. Even if it's just a little corner. Even if it's scared. Fire now, it's up to you. What was the yes you avoided and today you regret? Or which no saved you from something worse? Comment here, we want to know, and who knows, maybe your story will inspire someone to take the next step. Share with those who need to hear that canceling is not failure, it is survival, but that showing up, even sometimes, is revolution. And if you want more reflections that hurt and heal at the same time, activate the bell and let me know in the comments, which topic do you want us to disassemble here? Canceling plans? Fear of intimacy? Social anxiety? Tell me. Until next time, and this time, I promise not to cancel. Sparkles. P.S. If you've read this far, you've already taken the first step. This is also showing up. Life is not made up of the days in which we appeared flawless, but of those in which we appeared even if we were shaking, even if we were afraid, even if just for a moment. What if I told you that the greatest act of courage is not never being afraid, but showing up despite it? That the revolution is not in being perfect, but in daring to be human with its cracks, its hesitations and its I almost gave up, but I didn't. Because the truth is that life doesn't ask for permission to be intense. She simply is. And you are here even when the world seems to ask you to disappear. What no one tells you about showing up. Showing up is not about arriving ready. It's about arriving. It's the student who enters the classroom after sleepless nights, the father who sits on the floor to play with his son even though he's exhausted, the woman who looks in the mirror and says I'm going out today after months of hiding. Showing up is the opposite of performing. It's not about posting the perfect photo, it's about sending the message I'm here even if just to yourself. And here's the secret that few people understand. Fear doesn't disappear when you appear. He stays there, in the corner, whispering. But you learn to dance with it. Shame doesn't go away when you act. But it loses strength every time you prove to yourself, I'm bigger than that. Uncertainty does not disappear. But you find that you can live with it and even laugh at it, sometimes. 3 truths that will hurt, and then heal. 1. You don't need permission to take up space. It's not arrogance. It's justice. The world has told you 1,000 times to be smaller. Today, tell yourself, I deserve to be here. 2. Canceling is not failing. But showing up, even sometimes, is resistance. It's not about being 100% of the time. It's about not letting fear win 100% of the time. 3. People aren't watching you as much as you think. Most are so worried about themselves that they don't notice their flaws. What if they notice? Who cares? What happens when you stop waiting for the right time? You know that feeling of waiting for something? A sign, a certainty, a day when you will finally feel ready? So it is. That day does not exist. Life is not a rehearsal. You are already on stage. And every time you choose to show up, even with your voice shaking, even with your hands sweating, you are rewriting your story. That project you've been working on for months. To appear is to open the document and write a sentence. Just one. That love you're afraid to declare. Showing up is sending a message, hey, I thought of you today. That version of yourself that you hide. Appearing means looking in the mirror and not looking away. What if today was the day? Imagine 5 years from now. You look back and ask, why didn't I start sooner? Why did I let fear decide for me? What would have happened if I had shown up? The answer is not in the past. It's here. Now. So how about today be the day you? Heavy checkmark, send the message that has been in the draft box for weeks. Heavy checkmark, make the call you've been putting off. Heavy checkmark, wear clothes that are not for you, but that make you feel powerful. Heavy checkmark, say I don't know instead of pretending to know. Heavy checkmark, cry if you need to, but don't give up. Because showing up is not about others. It's about you giving yourself permission to exist. The silent revolution of those who appear. Have you ever noticed how the biggest changes start without fanfare? One step. Yes. One no. And I'll try. No one is going to give you a trophy for showing up. But you will know. You'll feel it in your chest, in your breathing, in the way you look at yourself in the mirror. And when you least expect it, you will realize that you are no longer the same person. Not because it changed everything, but because it stopped hiding. Now it's up to you, and I want to know. Fire, when was the last time you showed up despite your fear? Was it when you spoke in public for the first time? Or when you asked for help after years of pretending everything was fine? Or when you chose to love yourself on a day when everything was going wrong? Comment here. Your story could be the push someone needs to take the next step. And if you know someone who needs to hear that showing up is more important than being perfect, share this with them. Sometimes a simple "you're not alone" makes all the difference. What comes next? If you've made it this far, you've already taken the first step. And that, my friend, is showing up. Now tell me, what's the next show up you've been putting off? What stops you from taking this step? What if today was the day? Leave it in the comments. Let's make this space a place where no one needs to hide. And if you want more reflections that hurt and heal at the same time, activate the bell and let me know. Talk about fear of failure. I need a text about allowing yourself to rest. Help me stop comparing myself. Until next time. And this time, I promise not to cancel. Yellow heart. P.S. If you've read this far, it's already appearing more than you imagine. This is revolution. What if the next appearance is exactly what you fear most? Think about it. Fear is not a sign to retreat, it is a map. It points out exactly where the territory is that you haven't yet conquered. That presentation you've been putting off for months. The difficult conversation you avoid. The dream you keep in your drawer for when you're ready. Fear doesn't go away when you're ready. It disappears when you appear. But why, then, do we insist on waiting for the perfect moment? Because the brain loves illusions of control. He whispers, if I train some more, if I'm 100% sure, if the universe aligns all the planets. Spoiler, that day doesn't exist. Life is not a rehearsal. The stage is already set, and the audience, the one that really matters, is waiting for you to enter, even with your voice shaking, even with the text half memorized. And here's an inconvenient truth. People don't remember your performance. They remember how they felt watching you try. That friend who cried during your stuttering speech? He doesn't remember the wrong words, he remembers the courage that inspired him to face his own fears. That boss who approved your poorly explained idea? He didn't see the insecurity, he saw the passion that overflowed despite it. So tell me, what is the version of you that the world doesn't know yet because it's stuck in "when I'm better"? What would you be doing today if you knew that no one was judging you as harshly as yourself? What if, instead of waiting for confidence to arrive, you acted as if you already had it? Hint, this is how trust really arrives. Leave it here in the comments. Not as a vent, but as a public commitment to yourself. Because writing is the first step to coming out of hiding. And if you're reading this and thinking, but what if I fail? Welcome to the club. Everyone who has ever appeared in life has already failed. The difference is that they discovered something you haven't seen yet. Failure is not the opposite of success. She is part of him. Imagine a child learning to walk. She falls. Cry. Try again. No one looks at her and says, "Stop, you weren't born knowing." We applaud the process. When, exactly, do we forget that we deserve the same compassion? What would you be doing if you treated yourself like you treat a friend who wants to give up? Would you say you're not ready? Or come on, I'm here by your side? Would you remember the times it went wrong, or the one time it went right and changed everything? Would you let him give up for fear of being laughed at? Or would you remember that those who laugh at courage are usually jealous of her? Today could be the day. Not because the stars are aligned, but because you're here, reading this, and that's a sign that some part of you knows it's time. And if fear still grips your chest, remember, courage is not the absence of fear. It's showing up in spite of him. Like you did now. What are you doing when considering taking this step? For anyone who needs to hear this today, you don't have to be perfect. You just need to be present. The world already has enough people who know how to do things right. What is missing are people willing to show up with their scars, their doubts, and their humanity on display. So go. Say what needs to be said. Ask for what needs to be asked. Try what needs to be tried. What if it goes wrong? At least you will know that the error is not an end, it is a given. And data is used to adjust the route, not to abandon the trip. And now, the most important part. Choose one thing, just one, that you're going to do in the next 7 days to show up in a way you've been putting off. Could it be? Send that message you drafted 10 times. Sign up for those courses that aren't for you. Spoiler, it is. Say I love you first. Post that text art idea that only lives on your cell phone. Write in the comments, in the next 7 days, I will, action. It's not a promise. It's an agreement with yourself. And if you need a little push, I'm here to remind you, the world needs your imperfect version much more than someone else's perfect version. P.S. If you've read this far, more is already appearing than you imagine. And that. This is revolution. Yellowheart. P.P.S. Do you want me to develop a text about how to deal with the fear of being too much and ending up diminishing yourself? Why do we sabotage our own dreams, and how to stop the power to appear without asking permission? Comment I want and tell me which topic bothers you the most. Let's go together.